On this episode, Ben reveals the early results we are seeing for the Tripidity emergence experiments with flags. He also talks about comparisons between ILeVO and Saltro and what they are seeing early in the field. There's another aid package for farmers being rolled out. Contact your FSA office right away for details. If you haven't checked out our new website yet, head on over to mershmanseeds.com.
Hi, this is Joe Mershman. Welcome to Cup of Joe, episode number 43, season 2. Today we have our regulars. We have Ben, Tommy, and Turk. And this week's been pretty exciting from the standpoint of some things going on, but weather-wise, well, we wish it could be better. Let's start off with Ben. He's been in the field looking at stands and following up on Tripidity and looking even at a little bit of ILeVO and Saltro, the SDS seed treatments. So take it away, Ben.
So I'm not going to bore you with all the numbers that we've seen so far, but I'm just going to give you kind of a highlight of what we're seeing. So in Northeast Iowa, we've had a test where on day 1 and day 2, we're seeing 50% faster emergence with the Tripidity product versus the non. In Central Illinois, we have a 34% higher emergence on day 1 and day 2 with Tripidity versus non. So the non-Tripidity will eventually catch up on day 3 and day 4 from what we're seeing. In West Central Illinois, we have a 50% higher emergence on day 1 and day 2. I haven't seen the finalized test on that. In Weaver, Iowa, which is Southeast Iowa here, I have a 28% faster emergence on one test and a 22% faster emergence with Tripidity on the other. So we're batting 1,000. The Tripidity product is doing what we think it's supposed to be doing. We're super excited about it. Following those products into harvest like what we have talked about before, hopefully we see that the plants that emerged first are going to have more pods and more beans in those pods. So the second thing that you mentioned there was we had some Kennedys treated with Saltro versus ILeVO on a plot here on the grounds in West Point, and we had that product sprayed with a good pre. It's a pre that I stand behind, is a Fierce XLT combination, and it's going to show the things that we were looking for. And one of the reasons that we thought that Saltro was a better product is because of its increased speed getting out of the ground and not seeing as much damage. We predicted over the winter time that we were going to see some issues. Some of the issues that we saw with ILeVO in the past not necessarily come true, because it seems that we get that PPO burn with on the crook of the soybean as it's pulling the cotyledons out of the ground with the ILeVO, just because it's a little bit slower emergence. And if you get that cool, wet conditions, it'll slow the plant down coming out of the ground, and that slowing process actually burns the hypocotyl as it's coming out of the ground. It girdles it, and it doesn't allow for it to come up through the ground near as easily.
We've had the perfect storm here for weather, over 3 inches of rain and then cool and just staying damp. That ILeVO soybean is just kind of slowly going through that herbicide layer, and just really the herbicide is interacting with that slowness. It just can't get through quick enough, and it's the perfect storm for if you're going to see damage.
Right, and I think there's definitely damage on the Saltro plants as there is on the ILeVO, but it is 90% less severe. So you can see a little bit of the brownness on the crook of that plant, but it's way less than what we're seeing on the ILeVO. So I'm really excited about that. If the sudden death pressure is as good as what they talk about, and the cyst pressure or the cyst resistance is as good as what they talk about, we have the first box checked now.
With Saltro,
yeah, with Saltro, we believe that this product is what we wanted it to be.
Right. So it is showing a faster emergence in those tough conditions and less injury. So we'll keep following that and keep updating our customers on that. But that was one thing that we had seen as a fault for ILeVO. As far as control of sudden death and nematodes, no problem with ILeVO, but this one area, because of phytotoxicity, is something that concerned us, and we're a company that looks at all the options. We don't have a contract with anybody to do anything And so we look at what's best for the farmer. So, like you said, so far we're going to put a check mark next to Saltro as being better for getting things out of the ground in cooler, wetter conditions.
Absolutely. And I would like to touch on, too, I've looked at a lot of corn stands, Stein corn stands this week so far, and even in the cool, wet conditions that we've had, the stands are so much better this year than what we had last year. We had just a little bit longer. We're in a wet spell right now, but we just had a little bit longer period of dry so that those corn plants could get established. They could get their roots put down. They could get their everything. The corn plant could go through germination in a dry enough period, and now we have all this moisture and the plants are coming out of the ground. We haven't seen too much drown out spots, but the stands are phenomenally better this year than what we looked at last year.
Cool dry is much better than cool wet.
That's correct.
Yep.
Have you heard of any insect damage for some of these crops that haven't quietly emerged yet? You know, as far as maybe seed corn maggot or wireworms or grubs at all? Have you heard any talk of that?
I have heard a little bit of talk on wireworm. Wireworms are a little bit higher than what they were last year. Cool conditions are conducive to wireworm. There's not a lot that we can do about the wireworm except hope for heat. Black cutworm and true armyworms are out there. They're in like isolated pockets. I think Washington County had a few pretty good significant moth traps that they've seen, but it's not widespread. I follow Iowa State's true armyworm and black cutworm update on those. So far here locally, we haven't seen anything as I'm scouting. So,
Turk, you have been following what's going on in the political scene from the standpoint of farmer support. Bring us up to date.
I think the announcement this week of a $16 billion direct aid package to farmers and a $3 billion purchase for food banks is big news. That's worth 67 cents for corn and 95 cents for soybeans for farmers. That's based on 50% of their last year's production or whatever they had in inventory on January 15th, whichever is smaller. So, and you can start signing up for that aid starting next Tuesday. So those are real numbers. Those are going to be big numbers. And I think they get like half of that up front, and then they get half of that later, or maybe 80% up front. I don't know. It's a pretty big number, and everybody's going to want to get a hold of their FSA office and get signed up for this. It sounds like those payments it's fairly easy sign up process, and the payments will start going out just as soon as they do the paperwork on it, and it's fairly simple to apply for. It sounds like so. Everybody's going to be very, very busy next week at the FSA office.
Well, that's good news for farmers, because I know if you're a livestock producer, it's been hell. And if you're relying on your corn to go to the ethanol plant, it's been hell. I've never seen things turned upside down so bad, and let's hope we get back to normal as fast as we possibly can. But I think the consumers are learning a little bit about the supply chain and how agriculture all fits together, and I think when we get all said and done, I think a lot of positive things are going to come out of this negative. Both for manufacturing and for agriculture, but we got to get through this first part too, and hopefully this vaccine's coming, and we can get this country open back up like it was, because I think there's going to be a lot of pent up demand once everybody feels it's safe to go outside. So, and we've been lucky here in Iowa. We haven't been disrupted too bad as compared to some of the other states. Fortunately, we only have 3 million people in this state, and not really the processing plants for the livestock have been the worst place to be, and so it's been a trying time, and of course we're all getting through it, and we'll make it turn out better in the end. Tommy, do you have anything that you'd like to add today?
Sure, I have a few things, Joe. First off, Turk, to kind of piggyback on what you said there, I had a farmer the other day told me, he said, he was talking about filing for that payment program that you were just talking about, and he said, "Who would have thought government paperwork was easier to fill out than a bare rebate form?" But anyway, no. Talking about the weather a little bit, it's been very cloudy this week. I think attitudes have represented that. I know Friday we got a little shot of some sunshine here, but we're definitely ready for nicer and better weather. We have done a phenomenal job as far as the field, as far as in-season sales, taking care of customers, taking care of supply. Extra treated inventory is down to almost zero, which is unprecedented for us this year at this time of year, but we're very happy at where we're at. Attitudes are kind of grim a little bit, and I think that has a little bit to do with the weather, like I said, but positive things are coming as far as the government and the COVID part of here. Joe is right, as being here in Iowa, we're pretty thankful of the way our governors kind of run things and the way things have been done, and with us being an essential industry pretty much for 80% of the state of Iowa. I think that has been a huge part of it, and a lot of taking away of the positivity of how we've handled it anyway. So good things to come. Lots of positive things coming from Mershman Seeds out in the field. Lots of good compliments, Joe, as far as treated seed. I know, especially in a lot of new areas that we've been in, it's the best treated seed they've ever seen. It's flowed through the planter. So more compliments. We've done very well keeping on top of customers, helping with orders. A lot of new orders coming in for the Enlist side of things, with guys switching again from the dicamba system to an easier system with the new Enlist E3 seed soybeans. So good things to come, more to follow, and that's all I have for this week, Joe.
Well, thanks, Tommy. I know a lot of folks ask me now, as the season winds down, what do you do? What's going on at Mershman Seeds? Well, I can tell you that there's no rest for the wicked. Right now, trucks are moving seed boxes back in, and when seed boxes come back in, it's quite a process to get them ready for next year. We have to completely wash them. We have to lift them up and look underneath in case any of them were set on gravel, and make sure there's anything loose underneath that got wedged in. We actually take a little screwdriver and knock out any gravel, so because when you lift the box up over a planter or over a seed tender, if any gravel would fall in there next year, that's a big problem for the farmer. So there's a huge process to to go through our thousands of boxes that we have to bring back in and get ready for next year. And then in addition, on June 20th, we're starting our upgrade of our seed plant, phase 2, and that will be installing all new legs, a new dust control system, and then also color sorters. And color sorters, these are infrared color sorters, so not only do they look at each soybean from 2 different angles with an individual camera, so you can imagine every soybean is going to be looked at individually for shape and for color, and it's going to be decided based on our criteria whether it will go forward or not. So that's going to be a big change in our plant. So we're also increasing the capacity of our plant. So we anticipate that Enlist soybeans are going to be the trait for the number one option for farmers next year. So we're gearing up for that. We're still trying to figure out exactly how we're going to do business next year with farmers, with field days, meetings, and how that's all going to work. But, we'll figure that part out. But there's a lot of information that we have to transfer. So we'll figure out what's going to be the best way to do it in the most efficient way. So I'll end this episode with my joke. And this one here is a little bit corny. And this one here is a little story. And rather than pick on hair colors, which, that's not maybe politically correct, I'm going to just say there's 2 sisters. And one sister is a little bit more talented than the other sister, okay? One's a little dingy, you might say. Well, anyhow, these 2 sisters inherited a cow-calf operation. And so they start running this cow-calf operation. And as time went on, being in the cattle business, it's not easy. They just kept losing money. Finally, they got down to where they were down to their last $600. And the one gal, the 2 sisters talked to each other and said, I think our problem is we need a new bull. So we've got $600, and I saw one in the paper advertised. I'm going to go out and see if I can buy it. But I want you to stay behind, and that's the one that's not quite as talented, the dingy one. I want you to stay behind, and if I get the bull bought, I want you to back the pickup up, hook it onto the trailer, and then come get it. Okay, and I'll send you a signal, information to come get it. Now this is back in the old days before cell phones and long distance and things like this. Okay, so anyhow, the one sister goes out and finds the bull and negotiates with the farmer, and farmer said $5.99. That's as low as I can go. She had $600, and so they agreed $5.99. So the one sister goes into town to the telegraph office and says, tells the telegraph operator, I need to send a telegram to my sister to come pick up this bull. So I want her to back the pickup up to the trailer, hook on the trailer, and then come pick up the bull. And the telegraph operator says, no problem, but it's $1 a word. And the sister thought for a minute, I only have $1. What am I going to do? She thought for a little bit, and then she told the telegraph operator, no problem, I got $1. I want you to send the word comfortable. And the telegraph operator looked at the sister and said, comfortable? How in the heck is your sister going to know that she's supposed to take the pickup, hook it up to the trailer, and come out and pick up this bull? Well, she told the telegraph operator, my sister's a little bit dingy, and comfortable is a big word. She will read it slow, and she will read it to say, come for the bull. Hey, you were laughing before you were supposed to, Tommy.
I know, man. It's still funny.
Anyhow, comfortable. Come for the bull. All right, there you go. So that's the way you can save money. Farmers are always figuring out ways to save money, whatever it may be.
Anyhow, you're wrapping me in like a comedian, though. I was ready for it.
You were getting ahead of me. I saw it. Anyhow, thanks for watching today. We hope the sun comes out next week and we get back out in the fields and do things that we need to do. And as always, thank you for your business, and we hope that your family is healthy, and please stay safe. We'll see you next week.